Indonesia is an agrarian country. The majority of its people depend on agriculture for their livelihoods. Its livelihoods, daily consumption, and policy regulators. The vast landscape makes Indonesia has complex problems in the agricultural sector. Weather changes, pest and disease attacks, land damage, low selling prices, lack of venture capital, land evictions, and so on. These problems can be solved through advanced technology in the agricultural sector, starting from the academic field. Department of Agri-Technology Faculty of Agriculture, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, focus on agricultural cultivation. Department of Agri-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta develops sustainable agriculture based on local wisdom so that it can produce graduates who can take part not only as agricultural business practitioners but also managers, agricultural entrepreneurs, educators, and researchers. The Vision Department of Agro-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta is to be a leading study program that has international insight and has advantage of sustainable agricultural science and technology based on local wisdom as an implementation of Islam and devotion. Agro-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta was accredited A in 2014 and re-accredited in 2019. Agro-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta equips students with the science and technology of agricultural cultivation that is relevant to the problems being faced by society nowadays. Mastery of the material is strengthened by practicum activities in the laboratory and in the field. Laboratories by Agro-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta include Treasure Lab, Protection Lab, Soil Lab, In Vitro Culture Lab, Biotechnology Lab, Post-Harvest Lab, Landscape Design Lab, and Greenhouse. Agro-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta applies student-centered learning method as its curriculum to answer the challenges of technological progress in agriculture. Teaching and learning activities of educators and students are integrated online through e-learning. Besides hard skill, Agro-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta also develops students' soft skill through the Agriculture Training Center called ATC, the Agro-Technology Student Association called HIMAGRO, and the International Association of Agriculture Students or IAAS. Armed with good hard skill and soft skill, Agro-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta students have performed well at national and international level. Agrotechnology Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta also routinely conducts international activities including guest lecture, International Tropical Farming Summer School, and International Conference on Sustainable Agriculture. The readiness of students in facing the world of work is trained with professional internship activities. The role of students in the advancement of agriculture in Indonesia is trained by conducting research to create new technologies and innovation that are published through a thesis script. The resulting research is expected to answer the challenges of technological progress, so that Agrotechnology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta graduates are ready to apply new technologies and innovations. Indonesia is an agrarian country. The majority of its people depend on agriculture for their livelihoods. Its livelihoods, daily consumption, and policy regulators. The vast landscape makes Indonesia has complex problems in the agricultural sector. Weather changes, pest and disease attacks, land damage, low selling prices, lack of venture capital, land evictions, and so on. These problems can be solved through advanced technology in the agricultural sector, starting from the academic field. Department of Agrotechnology Faculty of Agriculture, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, focus on agricultural cultivation. Department of Agrotechnology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta develops sustainable agriculture based on local wisdom so that it can produce graduates who can take part not only as agricultural business practitioners but also managers, agricultural entrepreneurs, educators, and researchers. The Vision Department of Agrotechnology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta is to be a leading study program that has international insight and has advantage of sustainable agricultural science and technology based on local wisdom as an implementation of Islam and devotion. Agrotechnology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta was accredited A in 2014 and
bangkitkan pasti kibarkan dakwah, amal usaha jalan berkiprah, ridho Allah melimpah berkah. Muhammadiyah teguhkan asa, majukan umat jaya dan bangsa, bumikan Islam sinari zaman, rahmati Allah. Di Solo jalin ukhuwah, muktamar satukan langkah, bersama majukan Indonesia. Di Solo jalin ukhuwah, muktamar satukan langkah, bersama cerahkan semesta. Sang Surya suluk peradaban, Aisyah gerak bersama, majukan umat jaya dan bangsa, bumikan Islam sinari zaman, rahmati Allah. Di Solo jalin ukhuwah, muktamar satukan langkah, bersama majukan Indonesia. Di Solo jalin ukhuwah, muktamar satukan langkah, bersama cerahkan semesta. Sang Surya suluk peradaban, Muhammadiyah lintasi zaman, gerak Islam berkemajuan, sebaris sawah pencerahan, wujudkan cita-cita Islam. Di Solo jalin ukhuwah, muktamar satukan langkah, bersama majukan Indonesia. Di Solo jalin ukhuwah, muktamar satukan langkah, bersama cerahkan semesta. Suluk peradaban,
Indonesia is an agrarian country. The majority of its people depend on agriculture for their livelihoods. Its livelihoods, daily consumption, and policy regulators. The vast landscape makes Indonesia has complex problem in the agricultural sector. Weather changes, pest and disease attacks, land damage, low selling prices, lack of venture capital, land evictions, and so on. These problems can be solved through advanced technology in the agricultural sector, starting from the academic field. Department of Agri-Technology Faculty of Agriculture, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, focus on agricultural cultivation. Department of Agri-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta develop sustainable agriculture based on local wisdom so that it can produce graduates who can take part not only as agricultural business practitioners, entrepreneurs, educators, and researchers. The Vision Department of Agro-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta is to be a leading study program that has international insight and has advantage of sustainable agricultural science and technology based on local wisdom as an implementation of Islam and devotion. Agro-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta was accredited A in 2014 and re-accredited in 2019. Agro-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta equips students with the science and technology of agricultural cultivation that is relevant to the problems being faced by society nowadays. Mastery of the material is strengthened by practicum activities in the laboratory and in the field. Laboratories by Agro-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta include Tourism Lab, Protection Lab, Soil Lab, In Vitro Culture Lab, Biotechnology Lab, Post-Harvest Lab, Landscape Design Lab, and Greenhouse. Agro-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta applies student-centered learning method as its curriculum to answer the challenges of technological progress in agriculture. Teaching and learning activities of educators and students are integrated online through e-learning. Besides hard skill, Agro-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta also develops students soft skill through the Agriculture Training Center called ATC. The Agro-Technology Student Association called HIMAG national and international level. Agro-Technology Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta also routinely conducts international activities including guest lecture, International Tropical Farming Summer School, and International Conference on Sustainable Agriculture. The readiness of students in facing the world of work is trained with professional internship activities. The role of students in the advancement of agriculture in Indonesia is trained by conducting research to create new technologies and innovation that are published through a thesis script. The resulting research is expected to answer the challenges of technological progress, so that Agro-Technology of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta graduates are ready to apply new technologies and innovations.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable Dean of Faculty of Agriculture, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, Madam Indira Prabasari, PhD. The Honorable Head of Agrotechnology Department, Madam Ineka Ageng Renaksana, PhD. The Honorable Head of International Relations Office, Mr. Yordan Gunawan, MBA, MH. All distinguished speakers, guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the opening ceremony of the 5th International Tropical Farming Summer School 2020 with the theme Approaching Technology Based on Local Wisdom to Support Agriculture Sustainability in Tropical Area. First of all, let us praise be to Allah the Almighty for His grace and mercy so that we could gather in this blissful place. Today's agenda will be first opening, throwback video of 4th ITFSS 2019, speech, video of students representatives, and closing. Let us open our agenda today by saying Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in a minute we are going to enjoy the throwback video of the 4th ITFSS 2019.
I'm alone, I'm a broken home. I gave you all the bricks that I own and know. I'm letting go, I'm breaking these walls down, breaking these walls down. If you want adventure, then fly to home. But if you wanna travel, then go alone. Yeah, what's the point in us if I never know? Yeah, if you're gonna leave, I'ma let you go. I fell, but my demons growl. My own little nightmare, I call it hell. Oh well, it's time to get back up, climbing and climbing. I'm done with this ride, is what I tell myself, so I could feel something else. Yeah, I guess I had my bad days, but it doesn't mean I lost my styling. Where you when my heart was on the ground? I took time would prove that you would stick around. I guess time stood still. The king without his crown. I'm breaking your fake, you never made us out. I'm tired of the pain. Go away. I'm tired of I'm trying to find a home, but if you wanna travel, go alone.
Welcome to Indonesia! ITF SSS SAS 2019参加してよかったです。楽しかった。
ITFSS 2019インドネシアのことが大好きになりました。きっとまた来ます。ありがとうございました。
สวัสดีค่ะต้องขอบคุณค่ายนี้มากๆเลยนะคะที่มอบประสบการณ์ที่ดีแล้วก็เพื่อนที่ดีให้มากมายเลยค่ะแล้วก็สนุกมากเลยขอบคุณค่ะสวัสดีค่ะสำหรับค่ายนี้นะคะขอบคุณค่ายนี้มากๆค่ะที่มอบประสบการณ์ที่ดีแล้วก็เพื่อนที่ดีอย่างนี้ค่ะขอบคุณค่ะ
FSS 2019 I'm have fun and so enjoy and next year I will be a participant again. Thank you.
ITFSS Romeu 19 aku seneng banget melu ITFSS Romeu 19 gaya aku tambah pinter gaya aku seneng gaya aku ketemu orang Jepang ITFSS Romeu 19 jos Peransun ITFS 2018 abdi ngarasa bunga pisan ina di dia acara teh sumartos bade pokoknya luar biasa lah pokoknya mah nuhun saya dari Indonesia di ITFS 2019 ini saya menemukan banyak hal yaitu teman, belajar sambil bermain. Jadi jangan lupa daftar di ITFS selanjutnya. Terima kasih.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, remarks by the Head of International Relations Office to Mr. Yordan Gunawan SH MBA MH. The floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Happy to be here, see you all. Dr. Indira Prabhasari, Dean of Faculty of Agriculture, Head of the Department of Agrotechnology, Head of the Committee of the ITFSS, International Tropical Farming Summer School. and also all the participants from around the world. I heard that actually the participants now is about 90 participants from some countries. So I'm so happy, and on behalf of the university, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, would like to say thank you very much for all the participants who joining this summer school. And then we would like to also congratulate to the committee, especially for Dr. Isan. Congratulations for your baby girls also. Baby girl also, right? And also the Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture for this very great program that will make everybody knows about the tropical farming. As we know, Indonesia is one of the agrarian country with many people work in the field as a farmer. And then most of the people in Indonesia need to develop the technology to also develop the what is the agriculture itself in the country. So another thing is I would like to also say welcome to Indonesia, even though via online, virtual, for everybody now, maybe you just stay in your house, in your country, but you can see this is the program which would be, introduced about how the culture of Indonesia and how the people work in agriculture in Indonesia. So I think I also would like to again and again say enjoy the summer school. For your information and reference, this is the 5th program of summer schools that we have in university. Alhamdulillah. Last month we already opened for the summer school of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, and ITFSS is one of the summer schools that we have. So enjoy the summer school. Thank you very much. Billahi fi sabil haq, fasabiqul khair. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan, for the speech. And distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now is the opening remarks by the Dean of Faculty of Agriculture, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, and will officially open the 5th ITFSS 2020. Please welcome Madam Insinyur Indira Prabasari, PhD. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished speakers and distinguished participants, it's my great pleasure, really pleasure, that I stand here to welcome you all to our 5th International Tropical Farming Summer School. I remember back then in 2015 when this first ITFSS established. It was in 2015, and it was attended by approximately, as I remember, about 25 participants, mixed from Japan, and then Korea, and then Thailand, and of course Indonesia. The spirit of International Tropical Farming Summer School is to invite students from all over the world, and then they can learn by hands-on experience how to do tropical farming in Indonesia. So there are 2 things that basically they do, attending the classes and then attending the field trip. And of course, to enjoy also our beautiful city, Yogyakarta. But it's very unfortunate that this year, the summer school changed for the platform because of the pandemic then that we face and we suffer from all over the world. So it is it's very happy for me to realize that finally when we opened the application of ITFSS, as many as 96 students applied for the summer school. But because of the limitation we have and some reason, we select until only 50 participants join our summer school. Therefore, we open also some of the classes we upload in YouTube so that people not only in this summer school, but people not join the summer school can also enjoy some of the classes. And in this occasion, I would like to say thank you to our colleagues. They are my best friends, actually. Professor Sato from Yamagata University, and also Professor Rosa from University Santiago de Compostela, Spain. It's not the first time both professors joined the summer school. Actually, they joined for Professor Sato, he joined the summer school from the first summer school. And then for Professor Rosa, she already joined last year. So my dear participants, again, welcome to our summer school. And I would like also to say thank you to the committee. Thank you guys, you did a good job, and I hope you keep your stamina until the end of the summer school. Don't forget to take your multivitamin and all of the precaution. And for all the participants, enjoy our summer school. It will be conducted for the classes, it will be conducted 2 days. So I think today you will hear from Professor Rosa and Professor Sato, and then tomorrow there will be other speakers from Gajah Mada University, and then from some farming system here in Yogyakarta. And I will also give a lecture for tomorrow. So see you tomorrow then. Okay, I think by saying Basmalah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, this summer school is officially open. Thank you very much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Madam Indira, for this speech. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in a minute we are going to enjoy the students' representatives video.
Hello everyone, my name is Ajeng Putri Kusuma Dewi. I'm a student from Agrotechnology at Faculty of Agriculture, Universitas Padjadjaran, Indonesia. The reason I interest to join this program because I want to increase my experience and knowledge about emerging tropical farming, and able to solve the tropical farming problem in the field. This opportunity is also to increase my confidence to participate in International Agriculture Forum. Besides that, I saw at the activity schedule that will be held a lecture with the best speaker on this program. As an agricultural student, it is an honor to be able to participate in International Tropical Farming Summer School 2020. Hopefully, after completing this program, it will make our minds wide open about agriculture development, especially in Indonesia. Also, can make a huge opportunities to gathering people more aware about agriculture section. That's all for me. Thank you.
Hello everyone. I'm Kota Sagae. I'm participating from Japan. I belong to the Yamagata University Animal Ecology Laboratory. I'm a fourth grade. Thank you for the opportunity to join this program. Actually, I had participated in this program last year. It was a really great experience for me, and I'm interested in agriculture and animal ecology in the farming field in Indonesia. Japan and Indonesia have a very different climates and agricultural systems. I think these differences have a great impact on animals. So I want to study the tropical farming system more about it. And I hope to study abroad in Indonesia and research about the insects maybe next year. But we don't know how the situation in coronavirus will change or not. Anyway, this is the reason why for joining this program for me. I hope this program and active discussion with other participants will give me a hint for my study topic and the motivation for my research. I'm looking forward to start this program. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Tamara Franco, postdoctoral student of the University of Santiago de Compostela of the Agriculture and Forestry Research Program. My thesis deals with about adaptation to climate change, agroforestry systems, and a sustainable area management system that integrates a set of soil, agriculture, and forest management technologies, which address the problems associated with climate change. Climate change is a reality that is affecting the whole world and will have a strong impacts on the European continent. More specifically, in the Mediterranean areas such as the Iberian Peninsula. These impacts will affect both forest systems and agricultural systems. In general, the increase in temperatures in Iberian Peninsula will be accompanied by prolonged periods of drought or the appearance of the other in areas where previously did not exist. In addition, the probability of occurrence of extreme events will be higher. Recent temperatures and periods of drought will make both agricultural and forest systems more vulnerable and less resilient. In the case of forest systems, it is anticipated that they will suffer impacts related to the greatest attack of pests and our fires. In the second case, is maybe modify the crops to use or the distribution in their use resource. All this will cause the maintenance cost of these systems to be raised, and on the other hand, its productivity will be lower since temperature and water are two key factors in determining it. That is why the present programming, addressing in the course in the 5th International Tropical Farming Summer School 2020, is a great opportunity to expand knowledge about the different management, studies and use of the territory throughout the tropics, and acquire new skills and management tools that help promote synergies between the different components in order to achieve an optimization in the use of resources such as light, water, and nutrients, leading to global pollution, less vulnerable to agriculture and forestry production, and greater resilience of ecosystems, as well as greater contribution to the ecosystem's service supplies.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the opening ceremony of the 5th International Tropical Farming Summer School 2020 has been completed. The next agenda will be handled by Mr. Husama Alauddin Barik as the moderator of keynote talk session. On behalf of the committee, thank you all for making time to join us here today. We look forward to seeing you in the program. I wish you all a pleasant day and a successful program. Thank you and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Master of Ceremony, thank you for the time. And for now, we will start the keynote talk session. Before, the Honorable, our distinguished speakers and participants of 5th International Tropical Farming Summer School 2020, and also the participants who joined both from Zoom meeting and via YouTube live streaming. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, participant from Spain and Ghana, and good afternoon, participant from Japan, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, India, and of course, Indonesia. Welcome to 5th International Tropical Farming Summer School 2020. This is an annual event held by Department of Agrotechnology, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, Indonesia. My name is Susama Alaudin Barik. I will be the moderator for this keynote talk session. Okay, before we start the session, I would like to remind for the participant, please turn off your microphone during the presentation. We will give you permission to talk during the Q&A session later. Now we have connected to our invited speakers via Zoom meeting. Well, let's start the session. For the first talk, I will invite Professor Satoru Sato from Yamagata University, Japan. He will talk about land use management for sustainable agriculture in Japan. For Professor Sato, can you hear me clearly? Professor Satoru Sato?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you. I can hear you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, hello there, Professor Sato in Japan. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. That's good.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, so for Professor Sato, next you will have 20 minutes on your presentation and later 10 minutes in Q&A session. So if you're ready to start the presentation, are you ready, Professor Sato?
Yeah, I'm ready, but wow, I mean, my talk duration would be 20 minutes, is it? 20?
Yes, 20 minutes. 20 minutes on the presentation and 10 minutes on the Q&A session.
Okay.
Okay, is it okay, Professor?
Wow, not very okay, but I try to do it, yeah?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, if you're ready, you may now start your presentation and you can share the screen if you need it. Okay, so press for Professor Sato, time is yours.
Right, thank you. Oh. Well, but now I tried to share my PC screen, but it didn't work, sorry. Well, I got error message saying that the host doesn't accept me.
Sorry, Professor?
Yeah.
Pardon?
Now, okay, now I can do it. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, okay, nice.
Thank you.
Okay, please, you can start.
Right. Sam, can you see my screen? Okay, this is good.
I can see it, Professor.
That is good. Right. Okay, so, oh, wow. Thank you very much first to give me this really great opportunity for speak in front of you all over the world. Well, I was a bit surprised. So we have some participants from the Sri Lanka and also India and Myanmar, not only Indonesia, but also and Spain also. This is quite excited. My talk today is, well, these titles. I'm talking about some of the land use management for sustainable agriculture Japan. This is Japan landscape. Well, maybe you know it, yeah? And my name is Satoru Sato. I'm from Yamagata University. Right. This is Shonai Plain. Wow. This is where my university locates. It's locating mainland of Japan, but north part. Here we have some plains. This is a plains. We call it Shonai Plain. In that plain, we have the city names Tsuruoka City. In this city, we have, well, here we have our Faculty of the Agriculture, Yamagata University. And this is where this is where I live, my house, located here. Well, now you see that, we have in this great plain, but mainly we use it for the rice productions, like this one. So my house is surrounded by the rice field, and our city is not big, and university locates. This picture, number 3, is taken on the way to the university from my house. So the rice paddy field is anywhere. And we have that mountain. Many areas is surrounded by the mountain like that. It's quite beautiful, especially in the morning And the number 4, this is an area of the rice field of the all Japanese prefectures. Wow, the data is not quite new, but now you can see that arrow shows is our area for the rice production in our prefectures. As a top 7 prefecture which has rice production area, very big one. Well, anyway, total area for the rice production in Japan is more than 2 million. While Indonesia, that would be more than 8 million now. It's quite big. In Spain, it's about more than 1 million. While in that, our area, this is all our area in Japan, and the percentage of the land used for the rice is about 36%. Well, this also means that our landscape is quite much used for the rice production, and rice is the main products of the Japanese agriculture. If you think about our landscape, wow, I just summarized it. What is a positive aspect is rich of the water. Well, in terms of the availability, not only that, but also the nutrition good. And negative aspect is quite limited because we have very steep mountains anywhere, and our land is very much limited. Right. Yes, this is a quite general situation of the Japanese agriculture. Well, I have 3 figures here. Number 1 is a cultivated acreage, cultivated land during from year 2013 to 2018. So for 6 years, we have some decrease in that area. And some of that abundant. So the abundant area is increasing and abundant, but also, well, there's no possibility for being restored. Well, I mean, abundant areas is never being used for agriculture. So such one is quite much, decreasing. All very bad for the agriculture. And that condition of the farmer. The figure first, this one, the number of farm household is very much decreasing, very much. While in the last several years, by 30% decrease. And this one also decrease. Number 2, agriculture income decreasing very, very much. So everything decreased, but this is increasing very much, which is subsidy. So this is also not very good for the farmers. But this is a general trend of the Japanese farming. Well, the next one. However, if you consider that organic farming, well, this one, number 1, organic field is increasing in the last several years, very much by 40% increase. And also that organic field, well, this is a word in the world, it's quite, well, in the last 2 decades, it's increasing very much. So, well, especially for the Japanese agriculture, only for the organic field is increasing, but others mainly decreasing. This is a general trend. Well, so let me summarize my talk. Number 1, well, in general, right farming activities in recession for decades, but organic farming developed well, but it's still limited. It's quite limited. Well, I think only 1% of the old arable land is used for the organic farming, but it's increasing. This is a general trend. And number 2 is a variety of the techniques for the organic farming have been developed. Well, for example, weed management. And this is what I'm talking today, mainly. Wow, this is a good picture, isn't it? Number 1 picture is a duck farming. This farming employs duck feeding on weeds. So in this picture, you don't see many weeds. Also, there's no chemicals used. Well, I mean, those ducks feed on it. And number 2, this is a weed abundance. Well, this is a result of the duck farming. It's a quite big effect on the abundance of the weed. And that red lined area is a duration of the duck farming and its rice production season, starting from the early June to the beginning of the September. And that bar shows is a number of the individuals of the weed, and this one number of the species of the weed. The first, you can see that dotted line is a number of the species in a conventional farming is pretty much higher than in a duck farming, this black line. So you can see how the duck farming effects affect the number of the species of the weed. And also for that, this is the number of the individual of the weed. It's also, you can see that white birds is a conventional farming and dark is this one, black birds. So dark depressed very much weed abundance and also good for the commercial. This is the painting of the ducks. So people believe that, duck is a good symbol for the good environment. So for the commercial use, they are often used like that. Wow, for the summary, number 4. So what is the positive of this one? As a dark depressed weed and pest insect also can be eaten, eliminated by ducks. They eat very much. And number 3, improves soil fertility because duck have dropping excreta and that would be good for the good fertility. And it's number 4, good icon of the safe rice field. What is a negative? Can you guess that? Wow, because duck eat everything, not only weed, but also the insects, including natural enemies. So for the environment, well, this is not very good actually. Yeah, because they eat everything. Yeah, so they have positive and negative aspects. Yeah. This is also pretty common method of the weeding management. This number 1 picture shows that, paper mulch. This is made of the paper. This prevent sunlight from being soaked by the weeds. And this figures number 2 is abundance of the weed in variety of the weed management. For example, this one. When you use paper mulch but white color, this paper mulch black color, and this is a chemicals, weed killers, and no weeding. And they did it for 3 years. This one and that one. But in general, this is a trend that the paper mulch works very much good, but especially when the color is a black, it's a quite good. Sometimes it's better than chemicals. So this also have pretty positive because it depresses the weed very much and there's no chemical residues. It's also good for the environment, but negative things is a cost. It costs. And also that because of the mulch depressed weed very, very much. And if you think about biodiversity, this is not good. This is not very good. All right. Yeah, this is the last one. It's also quite common. In fact, this is a very traditional. In Japan, traditionally we use, not exactly like this one, but we have traditional, some sort of the machines to do weeding for long years. So this is robot and mechanical weeding, but nowadays robot weeding is quite, not very common, but start to be common. Some people start to use it. And this is a result. Wow. If you do no weeding, you have much weed. But chemicals is quite very good. No weed actually. But those robot weedings, that works pretty good. So we have positive things. It depresses the weed well and no chemical residue and environment friendly. But negative thing is the cost. That would be 10,000 US dollars like that for one. So it costs very much. Okay, well, in this situation, well, also we have variety of the techniques for the organic farming. Wow, today I talked about only weeding, but we have many techniques. However, if you want to have the further development, that would be limited. If we focus only technology, we need more. Number three, for better implementation of the organic farming, function of the ecosystem, for example, ecosystem services, like that shown in the pictures, that should be well utilized. And then my study topic is, I'm studying about the function of the organisms in the agriculture landscape. And the question now is, how can we enhance those organisms in the agriculture? Well, this is my question really for the long years. And one of the answer is organic farming. Well, organic farming really enhances the creatures. Well, for example, in the picture shown this one, while Indonesian people knows, of course, this village very well, Kampung Naga, is a mountain village. It's an environment well preserved and mainly depending on rice cultivation. They have, rice cultivation mainly. It's a very beautiful village. Well, in this village, that part is organic field. And that part is conventional field. They have some chemicals here, but they never use chemicals in that area. So, sometimes, this is mixed. So some chemicals go to that area. So for my research, I just researched on that organic and conventional area. And this is a result. You see that the figure shows. This is a number of the individual of the snails and other species, other creatures. While in this organic field, you have many snails, but you don't have many snails in the conventional. So organic farming really enhances snail occurrence, and that trend is the same in Japan. We also the same trend in Japan in the organic field. We have many snails, So the question is, what is the function of the snails? Function of the snail. Well, I introduced some of them, but the time is limited. So I choose this one. This is a quite simple experiment. You have some zooplanktons and it's carp and snails. It's very simple. Well, 42 days later, you have that differences. This is where you have snails. And the color is, it's algae. Algae occurred very much. That changed the color of the water from the transparent to the green very much. And that snail affected very much positively algae. And algae is a prey sources for the zooplanktons. Like those zooplanktons, you see the number of that changed very much when there is a snails. This one, no snare, that one is snares. That differences is caused by the presence of the snares. And in the end, what is happening that you have organic matters difference like this. So, nearly 3 times differences in terms of the organic matters presence. So, let's say simply, when you have snares, organisms enhanced for their occurrence, and after that, we have more organic matters. And organic matters is like that shown in these pictures, right? And now you know that organic matter is what? It's the main sources of the fertilizers in the organic farming, isn't it? Well, anyway, this is a quite simple idea. Plants, that study, I didn't show that because of the limitation in the time, but plants also enhanced very much by the presence of the snails. Snail enhance growth of the plant, and plants enhance organism very much too. this is what happened in the terrestrial environment, but in an aquatic environment, well, snail enhance algae, and that algae enhanced by the sun and nitrogen is coming to those plants and algae. They use it, utilize it, and then algae, yeah, is eaten by other organisms. This is a part of the reason why zooplankton increases. But when you have the more number of zooplankton, because zooplankton is eaten, consumed by a variety of the creatures, then other creatures also increases. So, and all of them have the organic matters. Organic matters. So, wow, you can say that more diversity, more organic matters. But of course, not only organic matters, but also variety of the service can be provided by the biodiversity, enhanced by the snares. But anyway, that organic matters are quite good for the organic farming. Yeah, and well, this is sort of the result. Those two pictures above, there's no snares. Well, we have only two replication, but there's no snares. And lower two pictures, we have snares. 1,000 snares had been introduced. Wow, this is a result. It's quite different, and yield is differed by 1 or 20% more yield in snare treatment. Oh, this is the picture to the Professor Loza from Spain. I went to the Spain last November, and in the end, this is what I want to talk. Wow, that snare was very good too. Right, terima kasih and gracias, thank you very much. This is and wow, by the way, this is a land snares, like escargot. Maybe all of you know it, and taste is delicious. Well, anyway, thank you very much. This is my talk today. Let's finish. Sam, can you hear me, please? No. How do we do?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you, Professor.
Okay, so I stop sharing the PC screen.
Yes, you may announce. Yes, okay.
Okay, I stop sharing. The PC. Okay. Or
okay, so yes,
right.
Professor.
Before I stop sharing, should I have some question or something? No?
Yes, now we will continue to the Q&A session. But before, thank you very much, Professor Sato, for the nice presentation.
Oh, thank you.
And now for the participant, yes, we will have a Q&A session. We will check the chat section in the Zoom meeting and also both in the YouTube live streaming. We will check and select 3 best questions and give a permission to the participant to ask directly via Zoom meeting. Okay, so for the committee, is there any question in the chat section, both in Zoom or in YouTube live streaming? Or if you want to ask something, you can raise your hand in via Zoom meeting. You can wave at us and we will notice that and give you permission to talk. Is there any question? But overall, Professor Sato, that is a nice presentation.
Some.
Yes.
Yeah, you
okay.
ask me. You ask me.
No, I asked you too much.
Okay.
Actually.
It's okay. All right.
Okay, Professor, we have one question.
It's good.
Okay, we have one question. I will check it in the Zoom, via Zoom meeting from Anya. From Arya. Okay, for Arya, can you hear me? You may now can turn on your microphone and start to ask the question.
Yes, thank you very
much. And also
much.
the video, please. And also turn on your video camera, please.
Okay.
For Arya.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, Arya, you may
yes,
now
thank you.
can ask for Professor Sato. Okay, please.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Sato Sensei. In this opportunity, I would like to ask one question, maybe a basic question from me. What is the difference of the diversity between Indonesia snails and Japan snails? Thank you, Sensei.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Arya. Yes, Professor, you can please. Yes, you can answer, Arya.
Yeah, that is good question. Well, it's quite different actually. Well, maybe Arya knows it because Arya already stayed in Japan for 1 year. Yeah, so he knows that very much. The answer to you is that it's quite high in the Indonesian rice paddy field, of course. That was quite surprising for me. Is that well in Japan? I mean, what was most surprising for me when I was in Indonesian rice paddy field is. Well, even in a rice paddy field very close to the city in Indonesia, and that seems to be a bit polluted in appearance. The water is dark and dirty. Well, it seems to be like that. However, for some time you have very big abundance of the creatures, especially like big diving beetles, which is lost in Japan for long years. Nowadays, we don't see many big insects. Well, snail also. But Indonesia, well, I don't know why, but your creatures are quite powerful. Your nature is powerful. This is my impression. So the answer was simply speaking, of course, snail diversity is very high. Well, I think 2 times or three. Well, it can be 2 times higher. Well, in average. I'm talking about diversity. Is it answer to Arya question, Arya?
Yes, thank you very much, Sensei. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, see you later.
Yes, thank you, Sensei.
Okay. Thank you, Arya and Sato Sensei. For the next question. Okay, for the next question, we will have your student actually, Sensei, Takuya Shirai. Okay, so for Shirai-san, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
yes.
okay, Shirai-san,
Yes. Yes.
you may turn on your video camera so we can see you.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Shirai-san, you can now ask the question.
Thank you very much, Sam-san. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'd like to ask Sato Sensei about this duck rice farming. You talked about the mainly positive effect, but you also mentioned about the negative effect. I'd like to know more about it. What's the negative effect from the rice duck farming?
Yeah. Thank you for the good question. I mean, your background of the video is pretty impressive. It's your room, isn't it? You have no background. Well, anyways, that's good. Well, maybe you know that spiders, for example, everybody knows that spiders, yeah, it's a very important natural enemies of the pest insects. It's eaten by duck very much. You see that when you have duck, eat everything, even natural important insects, right? Spider. Well, spider is not insect, but they are also eaten, and this is a problem after duck weeding, because duck weeding cause, well, it links to very poor diversity of the creatures, and no one knows perfectly what is the function of the diversity. However, when you use duck, you just lose it. There'll be some quite good things, but you can lose it. This is a problem, I think. Do you get it?
Yes, I understand. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. I understand. Thank you very much for Sato Sensei and Sam-san. Yes, this is my question. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome, Shirai-san and Professor Sato. And for the next question, is there any question from YouTube live streaming? No? I will give
one
Pardon,
question
Professor?
from one question from Indonesia, not only Indonesia, but Pakistan, India, Spain, anywhere,
Yes,
please.
please. Yes, of course, please. Participant from Myanmar, India, or
Myanmar,
Sri
please.
Lanka, maybe if you have any questions, please, you can wave your hand. Okay, there is one question more
Oh, good. Thank you.
from, wait, let us check, Professor. No? Okay, I think it is enough, Professor. There are no more questions on
Thank you
the
very
Zoom.
much. Thank you very
Yes.
much indeed.
Okay, thank you. Hi, arigato gozaimasu, Sensei Sato, for the presentation. And now I will give a summary from Sato Sensei presentation. In Japan, the positive thing is they have a rich water, and the negative things in the Japan area, there are a limited area that we can produce agricultural sector. And also, but in Japan, the subsidy by the government is increasing, but the income from the agriculture is decreasing. And in Japan, they're already applying organic agriculture. Sato Sensei explained about weed management for this. For example, the duck feeding on weeds. And also he have a research about snails. Actually, we both do the same research when you are in the Indonesia, Sensei. And the result is very good that snails could enhance the production on rice cultivation. I think that is enough for the first session on the presentation for Sato Sensei. Thank you very much again for Sato Sensei. And for the second talk, we will have Professor Maria Rosa Mosquera Losada from University of Santiago de Compostela, Spain. She will talk about land use management for sustainable agriculture in Europe. So for Professor Rosa, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly. Hello, good morning,
Okay,
everybody.
how are you? How are you, Professor Rosa?
Fine. Thank you very much.
It's nice to see you again. Do you still remember me?
Yes, perfectly. I was just having memories about last year and the very great time we have in Indonesia. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Also, we are happy to have you here again in this next agenda, the 15th FSS. Okay, so for Professor Rosa, she will talk about land use management for sustainable agriculture in Europe. And to Professor Rosa, you will have approximately 20 minutes on your presentation. And next, we will have a 10 minutes on Q&A session. And also for the participant, I will ask for the participant, if you have any questions during the presentation, you can please ask in the chat section. In the chat session down below in the Zoom meeting, or also if you are on in the YouTube live streaming, you can also ask via comment or via chat, live chat. Okay, so Professor Rosa, you can now start the share
But
screen.
I cannot see. I don't know why I am not able to share it. Oh. Well, sorry, I put share, but okay, it seems it comes now.
Okay.
At least.
Is it okay, Professor?
Yes, I press share. And it seems it is coming.
Yes, also, please, you can turn on your video camera so we can
Yeah, I think I have a problem with the video camera because the light shut off, so probably it doesn't work. Sorry.
Oh, okay. It's okay. It's okay, Professor.
Sorry, indeed. Let me know when you see my screen. I think it's going. It's coming.
No, not yet. Not yet, Professor.
It's a long distance from Spain.
Yeah.
But my computer is saying it's coming. At least it's moving.
Okay. Okay, we'll be waiting. Okay, Professor. How about the share screen? Do you have a problem with the share screen? Professor Rosa, can you hear me? Professor Rosa, sorry, can you hear me? Professor Rosa, can you hear me? But she's still connected, right? The committee, sorry. No. Okay. Maybe Professor Rosa have a problem with the connection because yes, we know that she is far away from Spain. I think, yeah, maybe there's something. Okay, already reconnecting. Okay. Maybe she have a problem with the connection. So for the participants, if you have any question later, please kindly you can ask something through the chat section down below the Zoom meeting, or you can also ask in the YouTube live streaming of our department. Professor Rosa? Professor Rosa, can you hear me? Okay, for the participant, because we have a problem with the connection maybe from the Spain, we will jump into the next session for the last session with Mr. Krishna from Bumi Langit Institute. So
Hello.
Mr. Krishna Putra, yes, Mr. Krishna Waworuntu, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Maybe we will start with you, with Milangit, because we have a problem with the Spain. So for Mr. Krishna, yes, Mr. Krishna, he will talk about integrated farming system because Bumi Langit applied integrated farming system. And to Mr. Krishna, you will have approximately 20 minutes on your presentation. And later we will have a 10 minutes Q&A session. So for Mr. Krishna, you may now start your presentation.
Okay. I totally understand Professor Sato's concern of 20 minutes. We have a lot to discuss for hours in this discussion. So in
Okay,
any
but
case,
yeah, 20 minutes or more. It's okay.
yeah, we can discuss other times. Thank you very much
Okay.
for your time and everyone who joins here today. Hello, my name is Krishna. I'm one of the instructors and designers for Bumi Langit Institute. And the screen, the share screen, is it working? Okay, good. So sweet. So rather than actually discussing more on the detail stuff, I'll a bit more on the story of Bumilangit itself and how it actually become and the process of it also. Bumilangit is in Jogja. So if you want to go to the next slide, please. Does it work for the next slide?
It is work, yes.
Oh yeah, I'm not seeing it. Yep, okay. So we are in Yogyakarta. We're located in Bantul Regency, and this is where it is. So it's around 3.1 hectares, and it's a really quite a dry area. It's one of the most driest area close to where the situation when Gunung Kidul, where well, in the understanding of dry in the tropics, it's still 2,000 millimeters of water per year, but in the conditions of the soil itself, it's very, very dry situation. It is there. Can you hear me clearly, or is my voice a bit muffled?
Maybe you can turn on the fan. Yeah. Maybe you can speak up. Yeah, maybe you can speak up louder for
Okay.
Mr. Krishna.
Is my voice clear now?
Yes, it's clear enough.
Okay. So what we actually use in the technique is called permaculture. We design based on nature itself. So the integration with the nature in our understanding of agriculture is very important. And really, before discussing more into the understanding of agriculture itself, the root we need to start to understand the root, especially in understanding of sustainable agriculture, is in the understanding of the word itself. Agrarian means agriculture. Agri means from agrarian, which means field. Field means the land that's been worked on, which means soil. And that's something that is a lot of people are actually missing out these days with conventional farming. With that, farmers are not taking care of plants. We're taking care of soil. The soil is the one that takes care of the plants, and the ecosystems is what protects it, as shows in Professor Sato's presentation. So what we started off really was a small little family. We moved into Bumilangit and we started a house, and we really just wanted to make something that is just for us to sustain ourselves. So the land wasn't as big as it now. It's the house that you see right in the middle of the place. That's our main house back then, before all the other buildings came in. And so if you just go to the next slide, please. So in the understanding of the buildings here and everything, in permaculture, it's the understanding of trying to actually have the longevity of everything. So it's not talking about farming per se, but not talking only about forestry, not talking about animal husbandry. Oh yeah. So next slide again, please. So we're talking, it's how everything is connected into one system. That's actually the main importance of it all, is actually how do we see everything as an organism that is connected, that is supplying the life within the ecosystem that we built. And so this place was built part by reading the ecosystem of nature itself and the human who interacts with it. So our house is the one in the bottom down there. We got our restaurants with the solar panel up the top with a lot of solar panels. That's our little, supposed to be little cafe. It turned out larger than it should be, with a little musola or more of a meeting place up the top. And we build all this in the understanding of how do we actually build anything without destroying nature itself or without exploiting nature. So we started off. You can jump into the next slide. Is to actually take everything in the buildings and everything that we made here only through sources of local wood, which is coconut wood. So this is all made out of coconut wood. Also, we can jump into the next slide. So this is the musola. We built most of our houses by using old reused buildings from old traditional Javanese. So this is a joglo. So it's basically reusing, and this is since this building is since 1960s. It was built. There's always a mark in each building, knowing when the building was built. So one is actually building your farm in the understanding of not actually taking and exploiting somewhere else to build and nurture what you're actually building in a sustainable way. So just keep jumping into the slides. Put it in 3 minutes and then jump in. So I just keep continuing talking since I got only 20 minutes. So there we actually, in the understanding of permaculture itself, it's the principles of how we actually apply science and the understanding of science and traditional wisdoms, and how to actually read the natures surrounding it. So like I said, it's basically how we see it is basically how do we build this house? Where will the house built? Where's the waste going? Where's the toilet going? Where does that go and will be processed into? And through that, the process does actually outcome into anything? From that, we try to connect everything one by one: agriculture, husbandry, animal husbandry, to forest systems, to architecture, to infrastructure. So when you build something for the life of to sustain yourself, you can't really focus on only one part. So that's the whole gist of it. This is the restaurant, so just skip on through on that one. So going into the farming sense of it all is basically permaculture actually started with someone from Japan named Masanobu Fukuoka. It kind of gave what permaculture is and become the main traction point to actually start permaculture. So Masanobu Fukuoka is a great teacher in natural farming, and seeing the patterns within nature and actually using that pattern rather than using us as putting our work into it, is working with nature rather than against it. So when we build our farm, we actually try to see the wind. Where's the wind factor? So where's the sun factor? What animals are inside our ecosystem there? What increased when we planted? It's very important to see what actually attracts, what's beneficial, what's a pest. But don't see a pest as a pest itself. It's a part of the ecosystem. Without the pest, the predators won't come. So a lot of these things is important to actually observe first before starting any of the understanding of seeing a holistic farm. So this is our cows. We got Holstein cows, we got milking cows, and this actually feeds into, so this goes to show how the connection works. We got the cows, it goes into the It goes to the gutter. The gutter actually keeps all the poo. We got the separator that separates the pee and the liquid and the solids. The solid goes down to the biogas. So next slide would be the biogas. We have to keep the cows clean constantly to make them happy and stuff. And through that, we actually get the manure, and from the manure, it gets the gas, which we use it for the household cooking. From the waste from the biogas goes into, oh, that's the solar panel. And one more slide. Sorry about that. So from the waste of the biogas, we give it to the worms. The worms process that and becomes worm cast from the process of vermicompost, which produce liquid fertilizer plus the cast. So, kind of sorry about that. I kind of don't know where the slides keeps on going. So this is a little bit of our house garden right here. So positioning all of these things are very important because using gravity, we actually just flow. So that's the freest energy you can use. So having the pond on the bottom. So after filtered through the biogas system, the biogas is also the black water system. So it actually processes our toilets also. It goes through a filter system called the reed bed that goes to an aquaculture filter, which is just a pond full of plants and a biodiversity of plants. It's really the key is just to have a diverse pond as much as you can after the gray water system to filter all to filter most of the extra nutrients that actually goes through the gray water system that goes to our fish pond. And that fish pond, we use it to water our garden. Plus, there's ducks there too. And the ducks are to control pests, as Professor Sato actually explained. Bill Mollison, the founder of permaculture, also says if you have a snail problem, you don't have a snail problem, you have a duck deficiency. So I was quite enjoying Professor Sato's presentation there. And so we use it to treat our wood too. So when you actually do something, when you actually apply something to the land, you always want to see what can be used with it. What can we multiply the function with? What's the next product of this this process? How does all connected? That's the main thing of it. And where do you learn it from? You see it from nature. We see ducks, they eat everywhere. What do they eat? Where do they live? Put it in rice paddies. We see the worms. What do they eat? We see a lot of worms in cow poo. We give them the extra biogas. Oh, where does chicken live? Chicken lives in the forest. They scratch all the bioorganic matter down the forest. We put it beside the compost, so it processes the compost. So learning from nature is where you learn from for integrated farming. You just become one of the part of the organism within that system. To tell you the truth, you won't be as important as the snail or the ants that will live within that system. You are more of, in the understanding of permaculture itself, really, you're more of a, you're like a maestro in an orchestra. Everybody there is musicians. You might not actually be able to play it. This is our dormitory, also used with coconut. So you're as a maestro, you actually, you orchestrate, you just give the beat for these players to play, but they can play even without you there. But you as a maestro, you don't really do anything to the musicians. You just try to make the most perfect, beautiful tune or song with the right beat as possible and see what comes next. And that's the main thing of integrated farming, is to see how all is connected. When you build something, don't build it for the needs to build. Build it to the understanding of the connection to the whole ecosystem. When you plant a tree, what is that tree gonna be? Gonna affect the ecosystems around it. Everything that you do, there's always a connection, and that's the main thing in integrated farming. And am I in 20 minutes yet? How much time do I have?
You still have about 5 minutes, Mr.
Okay.
Krishna. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
please you may continue. Yeah.
yeah. So working on because we're in a tropical this is a tropical kind of understanding of farming. One of the main things about tropical farming is the fact that we are very much low on topsoil. We are very low on topsoil. We're very low on humus, not hummus. That's a food. Humus. So the main thing is because in the system of in nature, in the system of the tropics, everything gets cycled very fast. That's why everything grows very fast. So whatever decomposed down to the system becomes the organic matter that feeds the microbacteria that feeds the plant, gets processed very fast. So when you actually have large space of farming that doesn't protect, doesn't have any protection to the elements, you lose a lot of these topsoils, and that becomes a lot of problems with any parts of the country around the world these days. So especially in the tropics, because it's really easy to actually make soil fertilized, but it's really easy to actually lose it at the same time. So when you actually make in a tropical system, this is the, sorry, before was the biogas system, this is the worm system right beside it. So it's a system that actually tries to actually make organic matter, and this is an example of using vermicompost to make organic matter. But after you make it and use it, is to protect it from the elements. Oh, there you go. That's the biogas system. So that's our black water. That's our biogas that feeds in the end feeds the ducks, the fish, and the chickens because it produces worms. Oh, it also produces black soldier fly because we do black soldier fly farming too. So the main thing is to actually have it into the understanding of how the people of the traditional people, how Indonesian back then farm. We can see this with the Badui people. We can see this with the Dayak people. They make farms within the forest. It actually protects because that's the only place that's naturally organic matter is built, and that forest actually protects and holds the organic matter, holds the water within the system, and protects it from the elements. So that we copy into our farm. Rather than having large areas of farming, we have patches surrounded by forest systems, surrounded by trees with diverse of root systems to actually hold the layers within the ground, to actually hold that water within the ground, to give the sanctuary for the microorganisms to live in. This technique is applied to a lot of farming practices through biodynamics, through that's from Rudolf Steiner. There's also Miyawaki method, which is growing back trees into for reforestation, to also syntropic farming, which is done in Brazil, which does forest systems, planting trees for every 5 meters and having the vegetables growing in the middle of it. And vegetables actually grow really well. And because naturally, vegetables grow inside the forest, which doesn't really make sense. Because you try to grow vegetables in the forest, it doesn't grow. But it grows not within the forest, but within the opening, the clearings of the forest. When sunlight actually hits, that's when things grow really well. When the next cycle of things grow, that's where wild vegetables grow. And this is what the traditional people practices within moving within the forest back then. So really, if you want to learn about integration in farming, we can integrate modern technologies and stuff like that, but we need to go back to the roots, understand what nature actually, how nature works, because if we work with nature, technology can support that, but if we work with nature, we don't really need that much work to do. Let them do, they already have a process. Like with the ducks, like with using sheep as mowing, like using chickens as compost turners and process the compost for us. When you use nature, when you use animals and natures and every parts of it, you're always gonna be it's always gonna be a benefit. You will never lose your benefit, and I think that's enough for me. And that's my happy ducks right beside my pond, with a friend of mine feeding him. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for Mr. Krishna Putra Waworuntu. And now we will entering the Q&A session. We will check and select 3 best questions from Zoom meeting and also from YouTube live streaming. Is there already a questions in the chat section? Is there any questions? The committee? No, there are still no questions.
Can I have
Okay.
a question?
Okay, so, okay, you can please introduce yourself, where you come from, and please ask the questions.
Okay, thank you so much. Good
Okay.
afternoon. I'm Mardiani Sidayat from Hairun University, from the Faculty of Agriculture. I would like to ask something to Mr. Krishna. What the interesting point that he's explaining about how to integrate culture into what you call integrated farming system. That's really interesting to me because that's the way we have to do if we want to do that in sustainable ways for future. But the point is I want to hear more from him. What's the strategy it can be used for not only him, maybe also for us, how to bring the community into the program, because of course the culture is part of what you call cultural identity, and that's you can find in the community. But how bring them so they can fully participate, or they not only participate but also they supporting, so we can make sure that the program or what we are planning can be go for what you call for future for long term. Okay, that's all. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for the questions. So for Mr. Krishna, did you get the questions?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So please,
That's
you can
a really
answer
good
the question.
That's a really good question. Right now, I'm actually living. I'm at the moment. I'm actually in Bali, not in Bumi Langit, and I'm actually with because of the COVID. So I'm actually working with a lot of villages here, including one in Denpasar, which is in the city, another one in Bona, which is more in the village, which is more of a field farmers, another one in Sangeh, which is vegetable farmers and field farmers. So what strategies for each people, we need to understand that every people, what I use as a strategy to go through to each and every community that I go through, and especially to the 3 ones that I'm actually looking after right now, is to actually see the needs. What are the needs of the people? And that's the main thing with what we actually trying to apply. What do people need? People in the city needs, for example, health. So now we actually have it's called Kebun Berdaya. You guys can check it out. And that's actually an urban farming, a community farming and small scale farming. And that's actually to build more the resilience of health, more to actually build a lot of people to actually start thinking about their health, their future, and to actually understand how the health of the world is actually very important within their hand, even in the people in the city. And this is to actually have a longer term effect for the youth of the people up in the mountains of the village that goes to the city, that leaves their land, that doesn't want to be farmers, to actually go in the city and to actually see what the heck, why is everybody farming? Oh my God, this is a cool thing. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the village because that's a lot of land. So that's one strategy that I use in the urban area. Another strategy that I use with the farmers, which is the actual the farmers that's already farming, is to actually first listen to them and what they actually have a problem, because most of farmers that actually do conventional farmings already have a lot of problems, and sometimes we just need to listen to them. They already have high cost in fertilizer. They already high cost in pesticides. Most of their incomes becomes very low. Most of the people who are rice farmers doesn't eat their own rice. They prefer actually selling the rice and buy more, and they sell the rice and buy rice again, and that doesn't make sense really. So really, I start from listening to them. What are their problems? What are the problems with that? And actually just introduce, and then we start of just, okay, here we go. Let's start try to actually see what you can actually have around you. I try not to buy anything. I don't try to actually get anything from outside. Let's see what is around you. Let's make something with this. We got a little plot of land, make a pilot project, but not to bring anything from outside. Have something that is actually something that they can hold, something they can see that, oh my God, I have been having that. I've been having cow poo right there. I have been having leaves right there that I always sweep. I never notice if we actually collect this, it will produce to this much amount that I can actually fertilize 1 acre of my rice paddies just with it. So this is give them the power to actually find these resources around them. Sometimes support comes from sending what you call it, supports for fertilizer and stuff like that, but that doesn't give them sustainability. That doesn't give them strength within themselves. So that's how I use it. And usually I help them calculate by means of what you call it, outcome of food expenses. So it's like, if you buy food for 50,000 a day in a year, it's gonna cost you 18 million. But if you actually grow your own food and try to actually anything you produce first goes to you, then surplus you sell, you actually cut costs to, if you only go for 100,000 per week, that means in a year you only go for 4 million point something. So you actually already save 13 million amount of money. It's like, and that clicks with them because that's what they need. That's what they want to. That's the main thing about these farmers, that they are trying to do this to gain extra money. And actually, usually it works more to the women, to the ibu-ibu, that they click a little bit more faster. And usually when the ibu-ibu, the women actually is happy about it, the guys will follow through. And I see that too many times. So you always need to see how the social structure is. You can't just bring a knowledge and just think they're gonna apply it. So you have to see the whole big picture and sometimes just listen. That's enough for me. Sorry, that's a long one.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Krishna. So how about the question? The answer, sorry, Ibu? Did you get the answer?
Thank you for your sharing.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing, because it's really interesting to know. It's really interesting to know that you're using women as the key actor in that process, and that I do agree about that.
Yes. Because it's very important. It's very important. PKK.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the key. That you go into PKK and you're in there.
Yes, that's. Thank you for the.
Okay, thank you again for Mr. Krishna and Ibu for the question and answer. And also here we already have 2 more questions. 3 questions. We will start with Kota Sagai to Sagai-san from Japan, right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sagai-san. Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity for me. Yes.
Yes, you can ask the questions.
Yes. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Krishna.
And my question is maybe simple. So I interested in the house system, which in the picture, which a garden under house. It looks environment is complexity under plant structure is also, and biodiversity is high, I think. So yeah, I want to ask about like that house system we can see somewhere in Indonesia. I mean, is it widely used like that system in Indonesia? Is my question. Okay.
Okay, is that enough, Sagai-san?
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Enough.
Can you repeat that again? I didn't catch everything.
For Mr. Krishna, how about the question?
So how
Did you get?
how does why is Indonesia not doing the system, or what's the whole question again?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the picture of the garden
Yes.
under house. Maybe you explain about use gravity like that. So yeah, I interesting like house system. So is it widely used in Indonesia? We can see anywhere in Indonesia. This is my question. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Mr. Krishna, did you get the question?
Bisa ulang dari kamu?
Sagai-san asked about why did you apply the system of in your garden like that? See, he simply asked that question. Yes.
Okay, simply that question. Okay, so
Yeah, okay.
So Indonesian simply if you see a lot of the implementation around the world, gravity is one of the main things that we use. If we can actually get gravity, so we try to use it. This is in a slope area. So a lot of people actually see, flat land area, that's perfect for farming. But when you actually have contour to play in, when you have elevation to play in, there's a lot of energy that you can use. And it's very important where you can actually apply. So production is always on the lower side than where nutrients actually produce. So simply in slope system, this is a good rule of thumb. The bank is always up the top and the production is always down the bottom. So you have your orchards, you have your fruit productions, you have your forest productions, timber production up to the top. You got your animal systems lower down around in the middle of the system. So cows, sheep and stuff like that. And you have your vegetable productions and everything down the bottom. So these are so you can actually, rather than picking up all the manures and stuff like that and bringing it, you actually use gravity to actually flow it down. And anything that is used from the top by means of household water and everything can be filtered and reused again within this when it goes to the lower point of which is the production area. So production area is usually in a permaculture design, you actually have it more in the lower case, kind of like spacing of zones in a landscape. So where it's and you see this a lot around Indonesia, where you have the cows up the top, and then they just drag it down. They just push it with water and let the water take it and distribute it through the contours in the landscape. So rather than using your energy, you're using nature's energy to actually let it flow and just have fun with it.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
thank you.
I couldn't hear your question clearly.
Okay, it's okay.
Sorry.
So
Yeah,
for
thank you
Sagai-san,
very much.
did you get
Yes.
the answer?
Yes,
Okay.
it's really,
Okay.
yeah, smart system. Yes, very interesting. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you, Sagai. Okay, because we have limited time, I will select one answer. One question via Zoom. There is a question from Khaya Orchaya. Shaya Disa Nayake. For saya di sana, okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
You can turn on your microphone. Kaya di saya, okay?
It's on. Can you hear me?
Very little.
Kaya di saya, okay? You can hear my voice.
I can hear you, but
Maybe you can speak louder.
hello.
Okay, yes, I can hear you clearly. Okay, so for Kaya di saya, okay?
Yes, thank you.
You can turn on your video camera and microphone and please start ask your question.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Hello, thank you for the presentation. It was mentioned that this is a dry area, so I want to know.
Sorry, Kaya, can you speak up louder?
Hello.
Yes, louder, please, again.
So this is a dry area. So I would like to know whether if you have any specific technologies or methods to deal with water demand for the crops and animals during dry seasons or drought seasons.
Okay, thank you, Kaya. You from India, Sri Lanka, or?
I'm from Sri Lanka, Postgraduate
From
Institute
Sri
of
Lanka.
Agriculture.
Okay, thank you for the question, Kaya di sana, okay. So, for Mr. Krishna, did you get the question?
Okay.
Okay.
May I ask a little bit on just a question to I'm sorry, I missed her name.
She's on the chat. Kaya di Sayanake.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you
Okay.
can. Okay.
Yeah, Miss Haya, do you know how what's your rainfall per millimeter per year in your area?
It varies in different areas. So our dry zone has less than 1,000 millimeters per year annual rainfall.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So that's interesting. So you're almost that's almost arid. No, arid. No, you're very dry. Yeah. Okay. So one thing for sure is a technique to actually do that. There's a lot of if you watch a lot of permaculture videos in accordance into India, you have kind of the same situation. A lot of permaculture systems are in the South India, and they have a lot of explanation on how to actually do permaculture techniques in dry land areas. But just to give you an answer right now, from my if especially in dry season, it's good to actually have a sunken bed. A sunken bed is actually usually you have a bed going like a hill. Instead, you have it going down. It's actually a little bit underground to almost 30 centimeters underground. And it's very important. Now, this is very important to use a lot of mulch. And I'm not talking about plastic mulch. I'm talking about organic matter mulch, which is just dried leaves, straw, and everything like that. So what you want is to actually have as much kind of moisture being held to that system. And when rainy season comes in, you can actually let it flatten again. So the water can go through. But when the dry season, you actually dig deep again and you actually make that sink bed. But it's very important that is actually only like a very specific technique to actually doing in a bed. But it's important for you to actually have a water catchment system up the top of your farming system. And this is preferably a dam or a giant pond where it collects all the water. It can be as massive as you want. It's up to you. But the main thing is do make that dam leak. It's called an ephemeral pond. It's a leaky pond. What you want is to actually have on contours irrigation lines collecting all the water, collecting to that dam, and let that dam just sink water through the system. It's important to actually plant a lot of trees there so it actually holds the water at the same time. But you actually use the ground let the groundwater move through the system, moving down to your farming area. And this is a lot of techniques that's done in India, which is a lot of the same rainfall, South India as you there. So, but this is based on the landscape. If you don't have a slope in your land, ponds are always helping, but it's good to actually have a lot of trees within your system. Most vegetables doesn't need full 8 hours to 12 hours sun. Most vegetables grow in good amount in 4 to 5 hours. So having trees within your vegetable system is it helps to hold the roots and hold the moisture, and to shade out especially on the evening sun, which is like the really hot sun, is blocking that. It helps block that evening sun, and you only get a little bit more of the morning to noon sun to actually feed your plants, and then just keep your plants happy afterwards. But keep on your research on that. I'll give you those hints. This is enough.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Krishna, for the answers. So for Haya, did you get the answers?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
Thank
you are welcome. Haya Disanake from Sri Lanka again. Okay, I think because the time is limited, I will end the Q&A session. And before I close the second section,
May I say
second
something?
session. Okay, yes, please, Mr. Krishna.
No, I just thank you so much for everyone. I actually had a question for Professor Sato, but since the time was up, it's like, oh no, oh well. Just to say that.
Okay, maybe you can ask directly to Sato Sensei later, Mr.
Thank
Krishna.
you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay, so I will give a summary from Mr. Krishna talk. Okay, so Bumi Langit Institute, they applied permaculture system. As we know that permaculture is a part of integrated farming system. Bumi Langit Institute is located in dryland, high dryland in Yogyakarta. And in the beginning, it was started from a simple family house built without destroying the nature. And they produce biogas from livestock and also the fertilizer from the manure of the livestock. So once again, thank you very much for Mr. Krishna. And for the next session, we will have Professor Rosa. So for Professor Rosa, can you hear me? Professor Rosa?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you clearly, very clearly. Thank you. Okay, so for Professor Rosa, she will talk about land use management for sustainable agriculture in Europe. And to Professor Rosa, you will have approximately 20 minutes on your presentation. And later you will have 10 minutes on Q&A session. Well, Professor Rosa, you may now start your presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much, Siti. I think you can see now my presentation, can you?
Yes,
okay,
yes,
I
we
don't
can
know
see.
what happened before, so sorry again for this inconvenience it was caused to you. Okay,
yes,
thank you very
it's
much.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like just to start by saying thank you very much for inviting me to make this presentation. It's a pleasure to be in the International Tropical Farming School summer school course. And I really have a very good time last year with all of you, and it's a pity that the COVID-19 did not allow us to be together and enjoying the excellent and extraordinary landscape that you have in Yogyakarta and surroundings. Okay, well, I just wanted to say, where am I? I am in this part of Europe, so the most far away part of Europe from Indonesia, in a place called Spain, España in Spanish. And I come from Lugo, which is a city where the agricultural faculty and agricultural forestry faculty of the University of Santiago de Compostela is based. Here now is 10 to 10 in the morning. So my presentation will be structured following this layout. I will explain about land use and land cover in Europe in a general way. We cannot understand agriculture in Europe without talking about common agricultural policy, which is a kind of funding for all or most of the farmers in Europe. I will speak about agriculture, forestry, and the latest and most important activities carried out by the European Union with regard to the innovation to foster organic farming, permaculture, and any kind of integrated management of system management. Well, Europe has to be understood with a bioclimatic context. You can see here that we have in the south from Mediterranean up to boreal areas, which are very really cold. So, and they are very different, and this makes different potential for agriculture production. In any case, agriculture represents 41% of the total area in the EU, if we take into account the socioeconomic point of view. But when we go and move forward in the area of Europe, is the woodland, the ones that represents more surface, with a 37.8%. But besides what is going on in Europe about the land use or land cover, I think it's very important to know how has Europe changed in the last years. And these are two maps of Europe where you can see that from 19th century to 2010 year, the green colors, which means grassland and forest, are much higher in all Europe. So it means that agricultural land has been decreased. Agricultural land use has been decreased. Let's see why these things happen. But let me give you some key aspects about the common agricultural policy. It's the most relevant policy of Europe. Above all, it spends 37% of the total EU expenditure, and is the major driver of agriculture in Europe in the last year, and has been suffering a lot of changes. It is divided in two big pillars. The pillar one is called that pays agricultural direct payments, and the farmers receive money from if they have cropland area, a grassland area, or a permanent crop. It's paid completely by the European Union, but there is also a pillar 2 where environment and forestry are paid, which is co-funded by the different member states, the 28 member states of the EU. Well, the CAP aims to provide affordable, safe, and high-quality food, preserving natural resources, that is very key and very important, and ensuring a fair standard of living farmers. It pays 12 million of farmers in the whole EU, and represents receive the 38% of the EU budget. It directly affects 500 million of consumers in the EU and finance and funds the 55% of the life in rural areas, generating, if we take into account the food chains associated to the different type of land use, 44 million of jobs. So that's a very huge and important policy. The main aims are related, the main future aims, because we are preparing now the post-2020 Common Agricultural Policy, or CAP. It's based on the main aims are based on the sustainable development pillars, which are related with economic, ensuring fair income, increased competitiveness, and rebalance power in food chain, environment related and very strongly related with climate change, because we are suffering a lot of from this, as we will see later, environmental care, and preserve landscape and biodiversity, because biodiversity should be linked to landscape. And also the social part, the social 3 main objectives are relevant. Support generation renewal, as you will see later on, protect food and health of consumers, and enhance vibrant rural areas. Well, one of our main concerns in Europe is the perspective of land abandonment. It's very high and high. If you see, there are very few, very low risk of abandonment, and it's spread all over Europe, which is a very important aspect. The main reason of this is that farmers about 60 years that are above 60 years old, they are a large proportion of the farmers in all Europe. You can see here that there are a lot of areas with more than 40% of the farm holders that are above 75 years old. So that's a problem because there are not renewal of farmers in Europe. And that's a problem. We lack of farmers. Well, let's move on land use about croplands, which are one of the main type of land use that are paid by the CAP. You can see that the most important cereal that we produce, the most important crop that we have are cereals, followed by plants harvested in green from arable lands. Or we also have some kind of dry pulses, but they are very, very, very small. But we have also some industrial crops that are usually used for producing bioenergy. If we go within the cereals, out of the 106 million hectares that the European Union has, 57 million hectares are cereals, but only 0.9% are dealing with rice production, mainly in the south of Europe. We are not tropical areas. Well, the production of cereals, you can see, has been evolving. It's quite stable along the years, and the amount of harvest cereals that has been happening in the last years, as you can see, depends on the weather conditions. They are much better in the central part of Europe than in the south, where droughts and climate change are more have a strong impact. Well, what we have seen in the last year is like happening in Japan, as I mentioned the previous speaker. We have a clear increase of organic farming in Europe. Consumers are very worried about what they eat, and this drives a lot the change of farming in Europe. Well, which are the main problems that we have in the cropland land use? Okay, a lack of biodiversity, soil organic matter is decreasing, and that's a very strong problem. We have a lot of problems with pollination. It means that crops are not able to produce grain because we have not pollinators in some areas of Europe. Soil erosion, soil degradation with contaminants or pollutants are also important, and as well as pests and diseases will destroy in most of Europe the reserves of good insects and arthropods to combat these pests and diseases. Let's move on to the second pillar of the first pillar of the CAP that pays permanent grassland. Well, you can see that the extension of permanent grassland is quite broad across Europe. The productivity, as happened with the croplands, is also variable across Europe. Again, the central area of Europe are those more with higher production of pasture. Also in Spain, the north of Spain, because we have very good weather conditions for grassland production. What are the main concerns there? Well, there is a shared decrease. You know, permanent grasslands has a higher production of ecosystem services than arable crops. And the European Commission found that there is a clear decrease on permanent grassland, which means that we have lost less ecosystem services delivered from the agricultural sector. So there was a part or section of the CAP, in the current CAP, that call it greening, that promotes the preservation and made it compulsory for all the member states of the European Union, the preservation of the permanent grassland. There is a clear decoupling from livestock farming systems, and that's a strong problem. Profitability is another problem they have. They cannot compete with intensive farming systems, which is a problem because we have a landscape problem. And there are also, of course, problems of biodiversity, also pollution, with a very small proportion of legumes, which are needed for increase the productivity of these areas. Let's move on quickly to permanent crops, which are another important land use in Europe, which are paid by the European Union. You can see that most of them have fruits, and few, the ones that are placed in the south of Europe, have olive trees, which are very important industry in our areas. But in general, they are dominant in the south of Europe, the fruit trees, and here in Andalusia, and most of the areas of Italy and Greece, the olive trees. Problems they have: biodiversity, soil organic matter reduction, because there are a lot of bad management practices that consist of plugging the soil where these permanent crops are growing up, and it means makes an important reduction of soil organic matter, mostly in the south of Europe, as I mentioned, where these type of permanent crops are dominant, because they are more impacted by climate change and any environmental problem. Well, soil erosion, soil degradation, pest and disease are also problems for this type of land use. With regard to forest, well, you see there is an increase of forest land in Europe. This is as a result of a lot of changes in the last 30 years of the Common Agricultural Policy. We have an excess of agricultural products, so we decided to set aside areas that could be paid for afforestation, with where they pay plantations, but also between 15 and 20 years of annual payments to farmers to compensate the loss of income. The main concerns of the current forest situation are lack of management, lack of use of these products coming from these forest lands, and strong resilience problems most in the south of Europe, like, for example, the forest fires. That can be reduced if we use sustainable land use systems, like, for example, permaculture or agroecology practices related with agroforestry. Well, this is an example, one of the experiments we have. You can see here the high biomass accumulation that is produced in the understory of the forest. If we introduce agricultural livestock activity, then we will reduce the biomass there, and the risk of forest fires reduce it a lot. Well, I just explained to you about land use, about common agricultural policy, what is the land use of agriculture and forest in Europe, in a very brief because of lack of time. But I don't like to end my presentation without speaking about the one important change that happened in the last years in Europe, and is the Fund of Innovation. The European Union is facing with a lot of problems in Europe. In red, you can see those areas that increases temperature in the last decades. And here, what does it mean? Climate change from extreme weather events, just being them rain deficit. You can see in those areas that are producing more, rain surpluses in some southern and central areas of Europe, and in general, big droughts, which is temperature accumulation, surplus, or heat waves in areas that are very relevant for the agricultural production of Europe. The main concern of the European Union is we have to face climate change, we have to face land abandonment, which represents more than 5% of the European Union. We have to face lack of farmers, but how can we move and foster this across Europe? Because we have a lot of research. Well, we know what to do, but farmers are not implementing it. For this, the European Union created the European Innovation Partnership related to Agri. I leave there the webpage. You can just go through there, which aims at connect all over Europe with different type of activities like thematic networks, multi-actor approach, operational groups, farmers with research, and that's funded by the current CAP and also with the national rural networks to facilitate farmer adoption of sustainable land use practices related with agroecology. These different activities carried out by the EIP Agri, the European Innovation Partnerships, what they do is to allow to talk different stakeholders like farmers, state agents, ecosystem markets, non-profits, NGOs, etc., different type of stakeholders to try to solve the lack of ecosystem services delivery of agricultural farming systems in Europe through innovation. And in the core, as core, the research that use databases to provide knowledge, tools to facilitate the access of knowledge, and education to make this innovation real in the fields. I just want to show you one of the thematic networks that I coordinated, which is the WW Agroforestry. It's based in the www.agroforestrytrinet.eu, which has a lot of information for farmers. It is already in 3 languages, Spanish, English, and Italian, where farmers can collaborate, increasing the documents that they have there, or providing even the good practices, because besides research, there are a lot of good practices coming for farmers in the farming systems of Europe. So have a look to it and enjoy it. And this is one example of farmers of one of the activities of the EIP Agri. It's a thematic network where 1,000 farmers of 9 countries of Europe participated just to give us the idea about the challenges they have to provide them innovations, and a tool, which is an Alive handbook that you can see in the screen. Well, I just want to say that besides this EIP Agri, the European Union will launch next year the Agroecology Partnership based on our European Union project, which is for agroecology for EU, where the University of Santiago de Compostela leads the policy work package. Also in other projects where we are participating, just in case you have need information about it, is the bioeconomy project, how to improve the value chain of grass, for example, to produce protein compounds, to produce biogas, or to produce biofertilizers, or why not even paper and cartoons. Also, the European Union is doing a great effort to try to link all these EIP Agri instruments through 2 projects where we are collaborating, which are Euragnos and Eureka, that compiles all the information that is produced by the multi-actor approach projects and the thematic networks. So I just want to make us a bit of wrap up and conclusion. Land use and land cover in Europe is driven by the CAP payments as developed countries. Main concerns of agriculture in Europe are related with land use, and innovation is the way to move forward to increase agricultural resilience against climate change and to foster innovation across Europe. Thank you very much, and I hope to have a fit on the time, and please enjoy this International Tropical Farming Summer School. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, and gracias, Professor Rosa from University of Santiago de Compostela. And now we will enter the Q&A session. For the participants, is there any question? For the participant? I want to hear the participant from Myanmar, actually. Myanmar or India. Or is there any questions? Okay. From Japan, yeah. There are 1 question from Japan, Osaka. Okay, yes. Hello, okay.
Thank you.
You can ask your question again.
Yes, thank you.
Please.
I'm honored to have the opportunity to ask questions. It may be a little off topic, but please forgive me. Again, managers are becoming a problem in every country. I want to know about measure in Europe. I felt the cooperation of the ecosystem was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you very much. This is
Yes.
a key issue for us, and it's so important and relevant for the European Union that they are providing close to 5% of the whole CAP budget is allocated for young farmers. If you create a new farm, you are supported by, for example, well, I can give you the current payments. They get 30,000 euros that are paid for a period of 3 years, just to start to farm in those areas that are abandoned, and that I think is quite relevant. Besides that, they have a lot of benefits from a tax point of view, which is also very relevant, and they are given the payment rights with a very good price. But even though that is farm people is not, young people doesn't like farming. So the current solution, because it's becoming very important in those areas that have more than 40% of people out above 65 years that are above with ages about 50, 65 years. We have a lot of people that are employing immigrants. So immigration is taking care of this in a very relevant way. But it is strange, but the last, well, I don't know, but if you know, but in Europe, there was a strong crisis, economic crisis, like in most of the world, in the previous decade, around 27. And this crisis, because young people didn't find job in the cities, make an increase of farmers in the rural areas. So I guess that improving livelihood in the rural areas is also key. And another part of the CAP is just allocated to that. There are payments to the different rural municipalities to get broadband access, to have hospitals, to have schools, because they consider very relevant to provide a good lifestyle for women to be in the rural areas, because if there are women, there are males. So that is highly relevant. Yeah. So this is a small summary of what is going on with regard to the strong problem of aging of farmers in Europe.
Okay, thank you, Professor Rosa. So for Osaka-chan, did you get the answer?
So this problem is also serious in Japan. I hope we can find out a way to work together. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
indeed. It would be a pleasure.
welcome. Okay, thank you, Osaka-chan. Okay, for the next question, we have Tamara, right? Okay, for Tamara, can you hear me? Please turn on your microphone, please, Tamara. Hello, Tamara, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Okay, you may now start ask your question, Tamara.
Okay, congratulations for your presentation. I'm interested in knowing to the adverse effects the derived from climate change are affecting the production of crops, both cereals, pastures in Europe. How can agroforestry be used as a tool for sustainable management and adaptation to climate change?
Yeah, well, research. It's clear that cereal production is wrongly affected by climate change. There's strong heats, the heavy heats that happens from time to time as an extreme event, destroy the production of grain in many areas, in some areas of Europe, which are increasing in the last years. That is wondering a lot of the farmers. So there are several projects across Europe that are carried out to test how agroforestry can reduce and being used to increase cereal production and to avoid, to increase to avoid the impact, the negative impact of climate change, increasing the resilience of cereal production to climate change. Well, agroforestry has been seen as a good tool because when a extreme heat appears, under the trees you have some shade, some shade. So these extreme heats that doesn't affect, don't affect the cereals. There are another type of studies that are being carried out. Some of them are part of your PhD, Tamara, that are related to test which are the varieties that we use of cereals that we can use to grow up in combination with trees, and which trees are better, more suitable to be used as a top story in the agroforestry systems, with a very good results that even in some cases reduces the needs of pesticides because cereal production is increased. So agroforestry is seen as an important management tool to reduce the impact of climate change, not only because of extreme heats, but also because of the wind erosion, so preserving the soil and reducing the high temperatures that we are suffering in the last years, that even causes some deaths across Europe. Mm-hmm. Another important relevant, well, it was already mentioned, is forest fire prevention that reduces the emissions of CO2 to the atmosphere, and that can be easily prevented with agroforestry. But we need farmers, and we need innovative solutions, mostly from a market point of view and from a bioeconomy point of view, to enhance this type of systems and recognize the ecosystem services they deliver that should be recognized by the consumers. And this is key, or seen as a key aspect in Europe. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Rosa and Tamara. Okay, maybe one more question, Professor, from Ajeng, from Universitas Padjadjaran Indonesia. Okay, Ajeng, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, you may now start asking your question, Ajeng. Hello, Ajeng? Turn on your microphone and camera, please, Ajeng. Okay.
Thank you for your presentation. I want to ask.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Ajeng. Can you speak louder?
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. I want to ask how to increase the traditional farmer ability to implement the application of technology, because the farmer in Indonesia is still using traditional technology, and most of them are unable to access that technology, such as internet, that very different from Europe. Do you have any suggestion for us? Thank you for your answer.
Okay, thank you, Ajeng.
Can you repeat the question? Because the problem is that I don't hear. I think you are asking how new technologies can help farmers to make farming across in Europe. What are the main payments that we are doing for that? Is that your question?
Yes.
Ajeng,
okay.
Is that your question, right? Okay, yes, Professor.
Yeah. Well, I was not able to speak about the whole payments that are done by the CAP, but digitalization is really a key issue. And there is an horizontal scope of Europe for our farmers. So a lot of money is given to provide broadband. This is the first thing, to allow farmers to be better informed about for example, weather conditions that can affect their crops because they can be negative, but also to deliver information about what is the best moment to harvest, what is the best moment to fertilize, to increase and optimize the use of fertilizers. And there are activities even in my area, in Galicia, for example, with vineyards. There are cooperatives of farmers that has with satellite images. They know when to fertilize, they know when to plant, they know when to harvest the grapes to produce the most, and to organize the harvest of grapes to produce the best wines. Also, there are a lot of education related with the use of new technologies to improve the efficiency of farming systems. Because let's say that, the intensive farming systems are using per se the resources. The idea with the digitalization is to optimize the use of these resources. So there are, education is key, infrastructure is key, and these are aspects that are funded by the European Union and will have a lot of impact in the funds in the next CAP. That is, well, I did not say that, but the CAP is working by periods of 7 years. The next period, we are ending the current period, and the next period will start next year. And digitalization is written in very big capital letters in the CAP, just to optimize the use of the resources, come back to climate change, reduce biodiversity losses, prevent from soil erosion, and increase the value of the products that we produce from agriculture. I do hope to have answered you.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Okay, so for Ajeng, did you get the answer?
Yes, thank you for the answer.
Okay,
thank you.
You're welcome, Ajeng. Okay, so Professor Rosa, maybe that is enough for this session. So thank you again for Professor Rosa for the presentation, and I will give the summary from Professor Rosa talk. Professor Rosa mentioned that agricultural area in Europe is mainly decreased, and as well as the farm holder, most of the farm holder in Europe age is over 65 years old. So Europe has a CAP, Common Agricultural Policy, that driven the agricultural sector, and the main crops in Europe is cereals, from 106 million hectares. There are 57 million hectares. Farmer there plant cereals. And the problems that faced in Europe is soil degradation, as well as soil erosion, pests and diseases, pollination, biodiversity, and soil organic matter. Okay, so for the innovation, Europe has applied climate change by increasing temperatures and extreme events, as well as they have a EIP Agri that support under rural development, and they have instruments such as website that she already mentioned before, agroforestry, www.agroforestry.net.eu. Okay, so once again, thank you very much, Professor Rosa, for your presentation. And ladies and
gentlemen,
very
much. It has been a pleasure to be with you. Thank
yes, you are very welcome, Professor. So ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, now we are come in the end of the session. I would like to thank all the speakers and participants for joining us during the session. So before we close the session, I have some information. So for the participant, please, you can kindly check your email because we have a WhatsApp group. So if you are not entered the WhatsApp group, please kindly you can check the email and click the link via email, and you can join us in our WhatsApp group, because later we will have information regarding the focus group discussion and so on. So before we close this keynote talk session, we will show you the upcoming agenda for tomorrow activities. Please pay attention to your screen for the schedule. in tomorrow activities. And I think that's enough from me. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Unmute.